welcome you to another go-around. Another go-around with me. 6:49 p.m., 6:49 at the, 7 o'clock is really the opening bell here, but you know what we do. I'm still too nervous to go live just at 7 o'clock. I've had so many technical difficulties over the years that I gotta go live early. It's impulsive. I'm compelled to do it. But it is the 17th day of October. I like this date. There's something really nice about October 17th. October 17th. I'm trying to think of what else happened on this day. Personally, I feel like October 17th is something important. I'm here, so that's good. Every day above ground, as they say. But it's October 17th, 2023, and we've got a little bit of a limited engagement tonight as I am going to go to band practice. We have a gig in Jersey City on November 4th, so we're just putting together a short little set. It's going to be like almost like a house party kind of a thing, so there's 20 minutes at a time. It's going to be really easy to prepare for, but then we also have things that we want to do with you guys and gals, including live streams that I've been telling you about. But every time we are on track for something like that, someone gets sick or whatever, and we erase weeks off the damn calendar. Anywho, that's tonight. So what we're going to do here is we are going to discuss a little bit of the themes that I was reading in some articles about youth depression rates, about worldwide antidepressant consumption and what that means about mental health and where we're going. And then I just wanted to, that was just like personal reading, society-based stuff, getting a gauge on what's happening with people and all that. It's really just held it to myself. And then last night on the Quite Frankly Telegram, which is partially run by staff writer for Quite Frankly, John Carroll, he put something up there that really harkens back to something that we read on the air in 2021. And I said, you know what? I'm pulling all those other articles around. I'm going to tie this in. I'm going to ask some larger questions to the audience about, us. And maybe that'll inspire some good calls tonight, as we only have an hour, and I think we should do well. And man, if the calls tonight are anything like the calls last night, it's going to be a wonderful show. Unforgettable last night. In fact, I would love to find a way, whenever the tide continues to turn and we have a couple of big breaks that come our way on this show, especially financial breaks, I cannot wait to be able to say, all right, I'm putting together a two-man video team, and I'm sending them up to Connecticut so they can spend a weekend with John from Connecticut and his wife, Hannah. Because that is a mini documentary if I have ever heard. And that would be a Quite Frankly TV special. It would be aired on a Sunday night. Everybody would sit around and watch it like it was A&E. Oh, my gosh. That has got to be done. So the gears are always turning, and 2024 is going to be interesting one way or another. You believe you me. All right, so thank you to my sponsors tonight. That is BlueMonsterPrep.com. I told you Pat and Gina would be stopping by tonight, but I said, you know what? Why don't you guys stop by tomorrow for a few minutes, since we'll be a little bit less pressed for time. So we'll talk to them. And then tomorrow night we're going to be talking about strange traditions and customs. I want everybody to think about strange traditions and customs, especially if it's seasonal, especially if it has anything to do with Halloween and autumn and whatnot. I want to know about it. If it has anything to do with local folklore, or if it's an ethnic custom or anything like that. That's what I would love to make the main topic be tomorrow night, and we'll work on that one together. So please be involved. Be involved tomorrow night. I need all of you calling in tomorrow night. On Thursday, we've got Rachel Wilson. She'll be calling in. She's a wonderful guest. She's a writer and a speaker. I heard her on with Jay Dyer on the 4th hour of the Alex Jones show a couple of Fridays ago. After as I was waiting for my mother to be released from the hospital because she got her hip replaced. So I went to go pick her up we dropped her off. We picked her up. And as I was waiting there at the hospital for her to be discharged, I was just listening. I put on TalkStream Live. What do you know? Jay Dyer is live on InfoWars, which is usually the way that it happens. I'm always end up listening to him there, and I love it. I love it. So that's where I heard him speak with Rachel Wilson for the first time, and she's going to be great, coming on talking about first wave feminism, witchcraft, everything. Suffrage movement, that's all this week. Matt will probably be in on Friday night. We'll see. And guess who reached out to me? We were talking on the coffee stream, I think either Friday or Saturday morning, while I was in the mountains, and I was just, canoodling with the chat room. And someone said, "Hey, Frank, did you see that Jay Myers is back with a new documentary?" I said, "Oh, wow, Jay Myers Documentaries is back on in action over there on Rumble, huh?" Said, "Absolutely." And it's true. He put out a new video on Project Bluebeam. Got a couple other things in the works. I said, I got to make a mental note to reach out to him because it's been a while since we came on. In fact, the last time he came on, he was just launching his Rumble. That's where he put all of his archived work there. And we gave him a nice little boost. Nice little boost to get him started. And when I got home, there's an email waiting for me from Jay Myers saying, "Hey, man, just checking in. I'm back on the publishing game. I got something done. Let's do it." So, okay, October 25th. Next week, Jay Myers is coming in. We'll probably be talking about the ins and outs of Project Bluebeam, which is, by and large, a theory. That's something that's never been, uncovered. There's no white papers for it. But, when you think about the theory itself, and you think about, again, almost like we were talking about the Albert Pike letters to Giuseppe Mazzini about the world wars. Those weren't prophetic letters that are supposed to be prophecy. They were supposed to be a plan. And whether or not it was actually written by Pike, the fact that they were written at all as far back as they were is pretty interesting as far as accuracy of projection. So we're going to talk to him about that, and that'll be a lot of fun because the next night it sets up Greg Carlwood to come in to talk about stories he's collected, creepy stories he's collected over the years, whether they be hauntings or any other ghoulish this or that. So I'm excited about that. What the hell is this? October 17th. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's 27th. Then we're going to be doing the creepy small town travel stories, probably on that Friday night, October 27th. Oh, there's so much happening. Halloween night itself, so I hope you're on board. I know I am. All right, so thank you to all who've shown up. Let's get into the grab bag, shall we? First one up, we've got another poopy incident on another airliner. This one's called EasyJet. I'd never heard of it before. I would never get on one just because of the name. EasyJet flight canceled because of a defecation incident. EasyJet flight was canceled and its passengers made to disembark after someone on board the aircraft apparently defecated on the aircraft bathroom floor, which I guess is one step up, one step better than someone defecating all along the aisle. You remember that? Now, they had no clue as to who did this. But they said that something happened. There was a couple people went to the bathroom and they brought it to the attention of all of the stewardesses and whatnot that there was the big crap just lying there on the bathroom floor. So since they were there on the tarmac already, they just, they pulled up one of those staircases and a cleanup crew came inside and they just tried cleaning up the entire airplane while people were still on board. But apparently that wasn't enough and they had to disembark, and then everybody was put up in a hotel for an evening, and there's just another one. Now, the good thing about this is that, according to people on the plane, everyone was being very polite to each other. There was no fighting amongst the passengers. It was a very uncomfortable experience, though. That's what they were saying. Here's one person saying, obviously, the plane was in an unsanitary state, so they had to get external cleaners out of the airport to clean it. So that's when the stairs reconnected, and the cleaners came on to the deep clean the flooring. But it was frustrating. They were sitting there for a half hour before everybody was said, all right, get off, and you're going right into a hotel. And then when they got to the hotel, they realized it was repurposed for refugees. No, just kidding. That would have been how my day went. Anyhow, here's another one for you from. Shit. So sorry. When that happens, I scare myself too, kids. This is from The Healing Power of Film Therapy, how watching movies can improve mental health and boost empathy. I'd have to imagine that there are movies prior to 2005. Many of us are enjoying sitting down to watch a good film because of the way movies can make us feel. A sad film might help us release our emotions, or a comedy might lift our mood. Movies can also offer a chance to connect with and explore our emotions in a safe way. So it's saying that it boosts empathy. That not only will it help you exercise some kind of emotional issues you're going through at that point, but you're also able to connect with characters that are, living very different lives and stuck in very, alien predicaments. It allows you to exercise some kind of empathic knowing. And what would you do? And, just kind of going through that whole. Now, this I can get behind. I love watching movies for that very reason. He said, I found, because of the effect that films have, there's a growing interest in using them as a therapeutic tool. Although this field is very new, my review of the research so far shows that film therapy can be effective at helping people process difficult emotions, which may help improve mental health. Now, it can, but I would be really interested to see what kind of movies would be prescribed for certain things. They don't get into anything in particular here. But maybe that's what you guys and gals can do at home. What movies would you prescribe for which emotions and for which things in life? How about that? I'm going to save this. But tonight, as a bonus question, as you call in, if you can talk about a movie that pulled you out of a funk or made a high even higher, whatever the hell it is, if you're a doctor and the only drug that you can prescribe to somebody who has something going on is a movie, what movie would it be and what would its purpose be? Okay, what would the effect be? Then we can talk about side effects afterwards. So think about that, and regardless of what I bring, what I get from you guys and gals tonight, we have to use this on another night. We got to. So I'm saving that. Maybe we'll do that on a Saturday or something. Who knows? But Saturdays are getting a facelift too. Let's go into Breitbart now. Emmanuel Macron, calls for ruthless deportation of all migrants with ties to the Islamic extremism that are in France. He said all radical Islamist migrants residing in France to be removed from the country in the wake of the suspected Islam-inspired assassination of a middle school teacher on Friday. I mean, how many Catholic priests have had their heads cut off in the middle of Mass out there in France over the last however many years? Just kind of whistled past that one. Great. Now, I guess it's a start. By and large, the Islamic world, by and large, is incompatible with Western civilization. Whether you tend to look at Western civilization as Christian or purely secular, incompatible. Now, Muslim families making conscious decisions to emigrate here, to assimilate, to get on with life, that's not an issue. It's not an issue that people pray different from others or keep certain customs alive within their families and their homes or wherever. But the planned importation of tens of millions of people from the Islamic world, government-funded, NGO-funded, and executed resettlements, trafficking, the boat invasions across the Mediterranean, the complicity that we've seen, that was always going to be a death sentence for Europe. Always. Always. Now, of course, this is because of another little, well, not a little, especially if you're related to this teacher, or you're from a town that had something horrible like this happen. But there's a lot more things like this popping up. We were listening to Director Ray last night. Since the post-Israeli 9/11 resurgence of using the threat of Islamic terror has, been revived as a call to action now. It's like, okay, well, this is always an issue, and I don't know. I think that I think Europe is on fast track to being erased, even if you would just account for those who are just there and replacing everybody. It's two different worlds. And one of them has babies and the other ones don't. That's the other thing. Statistically speaking, that's just the other thing there too. But Macron, he's willing to do something. What is he going to do? How effective is it going to be? I don't know, because you have to be very careful of what you enforce, what ideas you enforce, and how far you are willing to go to secure your country. Because now there's so many people inside that if they feel slighted in any way, shape, or form, you risk a monstrous uprising. Monstrous. Very fiery one, too. Okay, here we go. But on the other hand, for those countries in the Middle East, I think they know exactly what they want to do, and that is stay away from refugees. No, no, no. King Abdullah on Gaza. No refugees in Jordan. No refugees in Egypt. We're the idiots that'll take them all. We're the idiots. And we're usually the idiots that cause the need for the refugees to have to go somewhere as well. Now, I heard that Joe Biden was going to Israel tomorrow. I got this email. I got a few emails about that. Here's one from Nick. Now, listen to this. Said, Frank, there's a lot of talk today about Biden making a trip to Israel tomorrow. The consensus seems to be that the reason he is going to delay Israel from invading Palestine with a ground offensive, this would give Iran, Hamas, and whoever else time to get their feet back under them and reset. I don't know about any of that, but still, part of the reason many are talking heads are thinking this is because the plan seems to have come together very quickly over the last 2 days, and that is very atypical for a president to go into an active war zone with such short prep time. So what if the reason he is being sent there is to die in an airstrike? Think about the massive implications of what that would do. Number one, it gives Kamala and the Democrat Party massive sympathy. It would turn millions of Americans that are on the fence into massive war hawks out of pure patriotism, whatever's left of it, I guess. It would guarantee that we will not only spend a ton of money on this war, but that we will also commit troops. It will boost poll numbers because we tend to not change presidents in the middle of a war where we have boots on the ground. It gets Biden out of the way and stops the leaks that are used to try to push a stubborn Biden Jill into resigning. These leaks are getting too close to exposing Obama and the other bad actors on both sides of the aisle. And it also gets Hunter's sympathy. People will feel bad and be less interested in pushing for prosecutions because I think they will have to be somewhat concerned he may roll over on them. No, that's when he would go too. He said, I don't want to be right here, but it sure checks a lot of boxes that would be very convenient to the Uniparty and the WEF's plans. Could also throw in some immigrant violence on U.S. soil and martial law if point number 2 above does not work. Thank you. Best regards, Nick. Now, it's not a crazy theory. It's an extreme theory. And again, one of those things that, by this time tomorrow night, we'll know what it's all about. It's an extreme theory, but as far as I say, it's not crazy because as far as all the Hegelian aspects of the scenario, it would provide all of those opportunities. It would. Now the only question is, would it really be Biden? Would Biden be okay with being murked like that? Is he living in a cave for the rest of his life? Would he not know? Is it just going to happen? I don't know, but it's one man's theory, and it's a crazy, crazy, crazy world. So, with that being said, it's 7:13, and that is all for the opening. So I hope you enjoyed that. Keep those movie prescriptions in mind, perhaps, and let's jump into the meat and potatoes of tonight's short show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's
So, I want to do a little welcome to the show. It's quite frankly, thank you guys and gals for sponsoring it. Thank you to all the sponsors, all the people who make this possible every night. Thank you. Now, to get right into this, I was reading this article from ABC not too long ago, and it said the following. The headline is this. Amid what's being called a youth mental health crisis, is social media facing its own tobacco moment? Is social media facing its own tobacco moment? Okay, now what is that tobacco moment? Obviously, there came a time where tobacco was, really squeezed as far as how it was advertised, how accessible it was, and, especially with youth. But here we have something that's really interesting. Here are some of the highlights. Our children have become unknowing participants in a decades-long experiment, Surgeon General Vivek Murthy told ABC News in a statement. And while there is more that we have to learn about the full impact of social media use on their health and well-being, we know enough now to take action and protect our kids. Now, there's a landmark advisory here. This Murthy guy, issued what may become a landmark advisory on social media. According to the advisory, the current body of evidence, this is a quote, indicates that while social media may have benefits for some children and adolescents, there are ample indicators that the social media can also have a profound risk of harm to the mental health and well-being of children and adolescents, not to mention adults. Adults are just as fried, just as addicted. Between 2011 and 2021, the suicide rate among people aged 10 to 24 increased by 60%. According to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, National Center for Health Statistics, that's who did the study. In addition to the spike in the suicide rate among young people, a February survey from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that nearly 3 in 5 teen girls in 2021 reported feeling persistently sad or hopeless, a 36% jump since 2011. With 95% of teens between the ages of 13 and 17 using social media, Murthy's advisory quickly drew comparison by some observers to a 1964 Surgeon General report that highlighted the dangers of another common activity, smoking. Now, here's the thing. Smoking, although it is a hygienic, I would say that's a little bit more of a hygienic situation. And even though it is a net negative as far as hygiene and health goes, it can actually be a little bit more. It's a social thing. Certainly is a social thing. This is antisocial. Social media. That's the ironic mention about that. And of course, now my computer's just blinked for the first time, the second time actually, in a month. I thought this was all behind me. So. The enigma. What am I going to have to do over here to get ahead? I don't know, but we'll just keep going on my blinky little way. However, experts say that comparison between the two public health crises only goes so far. Yes. In addition to the concerns about increased mental health risks for adolescents who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, the advisory noted that social media can expose young people to harmful content and risks displacing the time children spend socializing in person during one of the most formative times for brain development. It is, no doubt. And even those who were old enough to have social media-less socialization periods in their time seem to have been made caveman-like. I think all of that can be reversed. I really do think so. I think all the time spent socializing in those formative moments, those spans of time in your life, I think it really can be reversed. I think everybody just, the brain fog is just crazy. But however, the advisory also notes that social media offers positives for young people. According to Pew Research, 59% of adolescents reported that social media helps them feel more accepted, a finding shared by many people who spoke with ABC News. I was super weird growing up, and if I only had the context of my school and the world that was close to me physically, I would have really disliked myself and been confused as to why I was so weird. But I was able to find a community online that really built me up, Eric Smith, 27 years old, said about the role of social media in his childhood. I guess he's talking about Tumblr. That's where all the real weirdos are. There's no question that we've reached a tipping point. This is how it all ends. That we've reached a tipping point moment where the public really understands the depth and breadth of the problem related to youth mental health and social media. That's Jim Steyer, CEO of Common Sense Media. So, again, it's one of those things where everybody's looking to see who they can hold accountable. But is that really, can anybody really be held accountable for that? You want to hold accountable for an accident with a gun. You want to go to the gun manufacturer. Even when people were going against Johnson & Johnson and they were trying to make it hard for doctors to prescribe opiates and all that other stuff, and going after manufacturers and making the drugs harder for people to get, where is discretion? Where's the discretion of doctors in that respect? Where is the safety and training and the responsibility of people who own a gun? Where is safety and training of people who pick up these phones? And I know it's hard. I know it's everywhere. I know it's saturated everything. I know that most things that people do these days are reliant on these technologies. So it's like you're already doing it, even if it's for constructive reasons, then all of a sudden it just becomes recreational and you never get off of it. But what is the real fix there? And is social media the really only thing? It's what is really going on. It's what's on social media. And it's contributing badly to how people are functioning now. There's going to be self-image problems, no doubt about it, because almost everything you see on the internet has been filtered in some way, and it's nonsense, and it's supposed to be influential in unrealistic ways. Then you just have crypto marketing built into everything. I'm not talking about cryptocurrency, just hidden occult marketing and branding and mind control, search engine manipulation. We know that part of the political reasoning for doing all that stuff is to really get people thinking and feeling a certain desperate way, so that they think that their vote is really going to be the difference maker in the world changing in a positive way. I mean, there's so much pressure, subconscious pressure put on people. And the fact that these bottom dwellers, these bottom feeders in the political sphere are becoming less and less attractive to adults and people who have some kind of a experience in the world, that they're going earlier and earlier into schools to try to recruit the support of child activists. I'm not even going to call them student activists. We're talking about child activism. So there's so much on top. So much piled on top of them. And yeah, we know that the unhappiness and the depression and the suicide attempts and the medication is going through the roof. Now, this one over here, this is from Zero Hedge from October 13th. It's called A New Brave New World. And this goes beyond that age demographic and goes into a little bit more of, it goes a little bit more into, I guess, international arena. This actually takes us on a little journey to Scotland. A New Brave New World, and it's talking about Big Pharma. New figures from Public Health Scotland, which show that more than 1 million men and women, close to a quarter of Scotland's adult population, are now being prescribed antidepressants, powerful drugs with wide-ranging effects on mood and physical health. This probably makes Scotland the nation with the highest rate of antidepressant use in the world. In the United States, by contrast, around 15% of adults are on antidepressants, which is still, by any metric, a lot. It's not just antidepressants that Scots are swallowing in record numbers. According to figures published by the Mail on Sunday, more than a third of Scottish adults are now being prescribed drugs from one of 5 broad classes associated with mental health issues. This includes a further 200,000 adults taking benzodiazepines, which are prescribed for anxiety and insomnia, and 190,000 people who take gabapentinoids. Another 130,000 adults are given so-called Z drugs, such as zopiclone and zolpidem, and more than 800,000 are on opioid-based pain medication. A situation like this doesn't emerge overnight. It's taken decades for Scotland to reach this point. The problem was already bad enough in 2007 when the ruling Scottish National Party first came to power. That government made a pledge to reduce the country's dependency on antidepressants. Instead, the figures have risen every year since. By 2010, 630,000 adults were taking antidepressants, and an added 390,000 were added over the next 12 years. There's no reason to believe the trend won't continue. Jumping around to more highlights. So why is this happening? A representative from Scotland's Royal College of Psychiatrists, Dr. Jane Morris, suggested it may be simply due to increased public knowledge of mental health issues and the treatments on offer. So as I read that line, I kind of chuckled to myself. That's what they say about everything. Here's a quote. We'd like to think that public education and awareness of the treatability of mental illness means that more people are coming forward, she told the Mail on Sunday. Now, on this view, the number of people suffering from depression would be fixed, more or less. All that actually changes is how many people decide to seek treatment. We're supposed to conclude, then, that at least a quarter of the adult population of Scotland has always been depressed. You don't need to be an expert to have serious doubts that this could ever actually be the case. Dr. Morris did at least acknowledge that increasing prescription may now reflect a rise in Scotland's need for mental health treatment. Yeah, I can see that being a little bit more in line. So that's just a case study in Scotland. Now, what's causing the depression? What is it? It can't all be social media. So I wonder, and we talk about this a lot together. It's a cultural thing. What are the prospects? What is causing the depression? What are our, what messages are being delivered to us every day about the present that we are living in relation to the future, especially? This is what's going on right now. We feel like shit right now. And, of course, the big wigs, the peasantavante of the world, they always come forward and they say, well, this is where we're going to go to make it better. This is how we're going to great reset the planet. And here's how it's all going to get better for all of us. Some of you are going to take, many of you are going to have to take a major step down in living, quality of life and, private property ownership and everything else. But don't worry, you'll be properly medicated. You won't even feel it. And whatever you do feel will kind of feel like happiness. And everybody else, you're just going to get a free ride until, of course, we don't need you anymore. And then your population is going to be reduced as well. But, that's the present in relation to the future. And importantly, I think most importantly about what's going on right now that cannot be discounted is our past in relation to the present. Apparently, the world is being reset for the good of mankind. So then why is guilt? Why are these learned inferiority complexes, the self-censorship, the taxation, the loss of private property? Why is that all part of the reset? Why is dehumanizing people, trying to get them away from proper diets and from red meats and trying to experiment with bugs and fungus burgers, something a little bit, how does that elevate anybody? And why is it the guilt that, we're just too used to having it so good for so long. We shouldn't have been living that way. And that's, of course, where the revisionist history comes in, and we're told that nothing of the past is worthy of noting, except anything that could be anything that would give the current political order a reason to beg for reparations for protected classes and to continue the nonstop warlike activism. That's what's going on. I even saw somebody. I saw a Twitter I don't know, one of those Twitter spaces. I saw a Twitter space that was live around the time that I was tweeting out all of the live links for tonight's show. And the question, I think the topic of the Twitter space, I was just like, oh, God. It was, does the current Israeli-Palestinian conflict distract away from the cause of reparations? And I felt a wave of nausea. You want to talk about empathy? I was trying to empathize with being in that headspace. Where, here's another foreign war that, where everybody, the bell's being rung and all the attention is being dragged over there. I understand that point. But to say, is this a distraction away from, reparations? Ugh. Oh, my God. Talk about just being a computer program running out, just running out the cycle. It's incredible. But, Once you learn to throw up that guard, it becomes a little bit easier to deal with all this stuff, but it's still pretty depressing to be reminded of the crap that lives outside of those walls that we put up every day. And then last night, quite frankly, staff writer John Carroll, who keeps me helps me keep the Telegram fresh, posted something that we did in 2021. Now, around October 2021, there was a big flood around here, just came out of nowhere. And it really hit my grandmother's house hard. A lot of people got it bad around here, but I was responsible for helping go pump out my grandmother's house and try to retrieve any of the family artifacts and relics that were there floating in the water again. And among the stuff that I was sifting through, I found my father's 1967 edition of the Boy Scout handbook. And I was flipping through it because I love things printed at that in between those years, from the 50s throughout the 60s, all of those like golden book encyclopedias. I love all of the artwork. I love the information given. It's unapologetic. It is what it is. And man, this really brought me to it. I saw this. It's sitting there on the Telegram. I immediately picked it up and I put it onto the Instagram, the quite frankly Instagram. And here's the first picture right there. It was a Boy Scout being pointed westward, obviously, by the specter of George Washington. And it's about the passing of the torch, and it's about just giving this kind of a feeling to young American boys coming up that this is your country now. This is who started it. This is the groundwork that's been laid. Take it to the next level, and then pass the baton. Go out there, keep your head up, and win. Now, the handbook was a throwback. It was posted on the Telegram, and I wanted to read this to you. This was called the main opening. As you open up the book, you get through all the copyright stuff. You get this picture, and then you get this. It says, "You American boy," and it reads as follows. Have you ever dreamed of hiking the wilderness trails that were worn down under moccasins hundreds of years ago? Do you hear in your imagination the almost soundless dip of Indian canoe paddles, or the ring of the axe of an early pioneer hewing a home out of the American wilderness? Have you followed with your mind's eye the covered wagons on the trek across our continent? Have you thought of men and women who built this country, our country, by their determination and devotion? You are the descendant of those people. You are the guardian of what they built. You are the American on whom the future of our wonderful country depends. That's the opening of the Boy Scout handbook in the 1960s. As soon as I read that, I was airing out and drying out the handbook in the sun, the October sun in 2021, and as I was, as all of the pages started to dry out and they were able to be peeled apart independently, and I was reading some of these things, what swelled up in me was both that like a healthy pride. It pumped me up. At the same time, because we are now so many years in the future, there is also that kind of sadness of the contrast of where it actually went, where that is an incredible mandate. That's an incredible mandate to give to young generations of a country that is determined to preserve its identity, its culture, and build something for the future of everybody who calls that place home, regardless of where they came from originally, what they look like. That's the real thing. So when you think about, it's just incredible what a little pride can do for you. And now I don't want to be too reductive here. I know that we have a lot working against us from the food that we eat on down. But what do you think? What do you think our depression rates would be if domestic culture of places like Scotland or the United States were proud, confident, and serious about the self-preservation of their culture? That also means the self-preservation of the balance between the sexes and just everything. You know where this all started, that pioneer spirit. Obviously, after a while, all the frontiers go away, and they just have to kind of settle into what you have and try to make things better, or at least make things stable and constantly restore it. Restoration is just as good as, what everybody thinks is an upgrade. So what do you think? How much of a factor do you think this is? Chris Ann Hall has one of the top comments there on that post. She'll be on the show again on November 2nd. Got a lot I want to talk to her about. But she says, this shows us just how much our government education system has programmed Americans to hate America, and the alphabet media is the enforcer, the reinforcer. You have been trained to hate your family, your people, and your home. Now, I think that goes a long way. Even if people don't really identify that as a major driver in what's going on, that is foundational. If that foundation is cut, if it is destroyed, and you just float away untethered, then I'm sure there's many other things that can go and bring you down. Social media is not only a driver of these messages, not only a driver of really unrealistic self-image standards, but there's also, it's nonstop negative, nonstop browbeating about how bad things have been, always were, and will continue to be unless you relent and surrender to somebody else. And there's plenty of people looking for your surrender right now. So I want to ask you about that. What comes up for you when I read that opening of the Boy Scout handbook? What do you think the depression rates would be? And because I think it would negate a lot. I think it would. Life is hard enough. You're never going to have somebody skipping through some beaver cleaver kind of a paradise from cradle to grave. It's rough. Every transition of it is rough, and outlook is what bails you out. Outlook and perspective is what bails you out, and good mentors and good traveling partners. And as a bonus question, I would ask you, what do you think children growing up today will be nostalgic about in the future? Okay, and that's outside of the happy times that they have with their loved ones, holidays, etc. What do you think they'll be nostalgic about in the future? Perhaps if we have some Gen Zers out there that are watching, you can call in and ask that. So that's 914-200-0269. We have about 20 minutes before we end, so that should be good enough for at least a handful of calls, and that's all she wrote for Tuesday. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Quite frankly, contributed to the death of 7 million people because of the funding of gain-of-function experiments in the Wuhan lab.
Howdy, friend. You looking for a message board? Go to quitefrankly.tv and enter the forum. Engage with official show topic threads or start your own thread. Get signed up. It's that easy. And it's not Reddit, so don't sweat it. For the forum and then so much more, it's quitefrankly.tv. Yeehaw.
914-200-0269. Let's take a call. 828, you're on the air. Who's this?
Oh, this is Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel. Oh, one of our favorite restaurants ever. What's going on? How you doing?
No, it's Crack Your Barrel.
Oh, Crack Your Barrel. I was going to say. In fact, Cracker Barrel just came up. Lauren and I were talking about it last night. I forgot what the hell it was. Oh, yeah. Well, it was. Never mind. Go ahead.
Well, you loaded a lot there. I was a Boy Scout, and what you showed on the screen there was beautiful to me, like the artwork and just the Boy Scout against, put against George Washington. The backdrop is just beautiful to me. And it's just so sad that, we've gone to this place that we have. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was I've come to this conundrum lately where people are always talking about the country and they always say this like, we bombed this or we did that. And I'm like, no, we didn't. Yeah. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Our leaders are out of control. We have a bunch of psychopaths. Right. Satanic psychopaths that are out there making decisions and doing all this stuff.
I'm glad you bring that up, Crack Your Barrel. I really do. I'm glad you bring it up because it's something that I think needs to be said and resaid as many times as it takes because it's true. It's true. He's you guys are always like no. Everybody. I don't know anybody. Sometimes you're hoodwinked. There's a lot of patriotism. A lot of Sometimes there's a lot of people who say, let's go find the bastards who did this to us, especially when you go back to somewhere like September 11th. And there's a little bit more to be taken advantage of. But there's so much less of that now. And trust has been just dripping away. And there has been vociferous anti-war demonstrations since the 1970s all over the place. And it just seems to always shake out where no matter where public sentiment is, the people who are supposed to be representing them don't give a shit. And the ability to even deploy the military and to go out there and wage war or assist in somebody else's war is becoming less and less of an arduous task to do. It's all been vested illegally in executive action and so, we already have a representation problem over here. Same thing goes for a lot of people in Europe. We are seeing bombs being dropped with planes with flags that we love very dearly, affixed to their tails. And that's us. No, it's not us. It's not us. And then they go destroy other people's countries. They create migrant crises, drug crises, everything else, and they flood our neighborhoods with all the refuse of the world. And then we're called dirty names for not wanting life to change when we didn't want to go and destroy people's homes in the first place. And that plays out in so many different ways. We're just completely marginalized tax cattle. They steal from us, and that's it.
Well, the other part of your question, though, what is that generation going to hold nostalgic?
Yeah.
I've got some kids too, and all I can think of is, when I think of nostalgia, I think of my Super Nintendo back in the day, and are my kids going to have that nostalgia moving forward? I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, maybe we'll get some younger callers to talk about that because I can't even impart that onto anyone.
Yeah, because I'm old as shit. I mean, I'm not.
It's curious. It's curious for me too. It really is. I don't know what's popular anymore. But thanks for the call, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Take care. There you go. There's Crack Your Barrel. What is going on, Jules? How are you?
Hey, Frank. How are you?
It's great to hear you again.
It's great to hear from you. I had a poo-poo on the plane story.
Oh gosh.
Hell.
Go ahead.
Oh, my God. Anyway, I was sitting in coach. I'm a former airline employee, so I kind of know the ins and outs of things. Anyway, so first seat of coach, there's maybe 3 rows in first class, and And I looked at the back and I was like, there is no way I'm going to make it back there to go to the bathroom. So I stood up and I could see that the first class flight attendant looked at me, and I walked in through the cabin. I mean, like I said, it's by 3 rows, and he hopped in front of that lav door and said, this is reserved for first class. And I looked straight up at him, and I had the guts to say, unless you want to clean a big pile of crap off the floor right here, you're going to step aside. He hopped so fast, held the door open for me, said, take your time, do whatever you have to do. And it was comical. It was comical at best, because I was like, I am not going to make it 30 rows into the back. You may have made headlines if this was years later. I don't know how much more courteous that person would have been all these years later. That also, you're lucky. You're lucky. There might be a lot of people right now who'd be like, I don't care, shit in your pants, I'm going next. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. With what you see at the airlines now, he probably still would have probably backed up to it and said, you must go into the back, at which point I could have, I don't know what would have happened. But anyway, it was good to see you and the family over the weekend up in the Adirondacks.
Thank you, Jules. It's always good to be seen, and I'm happy to hear from you again. It's always great to have you around.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking the call, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Bye-bye. There is Jules. Over on Pilled on quitefrankly.tv. Porpoiseful, thank you so much. Witchy Poo, Robert Sarnes, Jay Brewskis, NJSF, Tom Ford just gifted a 3-month bronze tier subscription. Now, I heard that Foxhole, Pilled.net, had rolled that out, where now you can gift subscriptions just like they do that on DLive. Now, what's interesting about this now is that Stephanie Sprague just claimed that 3-month bronze tier subscription gifted by Tom Ford. You know what that means? That for the next 3 months, Stephanie Sprague is going to get all of the exclusive Sunday stream links sent to her. She'll also be included in the book club and everything else that comes along with those universal perks of monthly subscribership, because Foxhole is one of the 4 places that we manage monthly subscribers in the subscriber sphere, quite frankly. So that's really interesting. That's the first time I've seen that happen over there. And welcome to the family, Stephanie. I'll see you on Sunday afternoon. All right. First one up on quitefranklysuperchat.com, and then right back to the calls. Windy Wah says, great show last night. It was nice to hear you deal with the callers. I was on a ride just with you guys. I was on the same ride you guys were. So, what do you think about the depression rates? What do you think about the need for some healthy national pride and anything else? What's going on, caller? You're on the air.
It's your friend Zozo.
Hey, Zozo, how are you?
Great, my friend. Hey, dude, the last few weeks you've been touching on just nostalgic items that, my Mystery Ship tends to run nostalgic quite a bit of the time, but you do it every so often. Your Columbus Day thing was freaking fantastic.
Thank you.
But this Boy Scout thing. So, a little story. My dad was huge in scouting. He was not only an Eagle Scout as a kid, he took the next step up, which is Order of the Arrow, where they would take
Zozo.
a kid out in the woods with
Zozo.
virtually nothing.
Zozo.
And let him survive for 3 days.
Zozo.
Yeah.
Can you kill the stream in the background?
Sorry, I walked away from the phone.
Okay.
It should be better now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So your father, he went the next step above Eagle Scout. Start from there.
Order of the Arrow, where they take a young man out in the woods with virtually nothing, and he has to survive with nothing but his scouting skills for 3 days, starting a fire, digging a hole, sleeping in the pit so you stay warm where the fire was, all that.
Wow.
My dad, in turn, became not only a scoutmaster, but he led, when I was a young Cub Scout, he led the entire pack. The next thing up from a pack. Den pack, whatever the next troop. That's what it is. My dad would organize these gigantic, 400 scout tent setups. And when I was a kid, This was all through the 50s that he was doing that. When I was a kid, my brother and I were probably 8 and 10. We were Cub Scouts. And these two older guys showed up. They were probably 18, 20, somewhere in that. And these kids had been young scouts when my dad was the scoutmaster. And they came to see him just because he made such a big impression on their lives with the jamborees and all the stuff that he used to show. And, Frank, when I was a kid in school, we were allowed to wear our Cub Scout uniform to school on days when we had meetings. After about 3 years, they said, no, you got to wear your Catholic school uniform. You can't do that anymore. But at least 25% of the kids in my class were either Cub Scouts, or is it Brownies on the Girl Scout side. I mean, that's in the 60s. To see this spiral, I mean, I can't tell you when's the last time I saw a kid in a Cub Scout uniform. I just can't even remember, if it's other than the girls who sell Girl Scout cookies in front of the Safeway every now and then. It pains me that this isn't more a part of the American landscape. What you just read this morning, just now, with your dad's book, dude, it got me right in my gut, man. Just, that used to be so important. I think 2 years of scouting should be a prerequisite for every kid who goes to school, period.
Well, I never experienced it, and of course, this is few decades before I was even born, and still, to read it, it got me in the gut, and only because I'm saying to myself, oh man, to have been around when this was just the way it was. I wish. That's why I often fantasize about what my time machine vacations would be like. Where am I going to go spend a week? And just be in it. And it's just, I don't know. It's also the reason why I love the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade so much. Young Indy going out there running around looking for the Cross of Coronado, and he detaches from his little troop there. I mean, they're on horseback, so I know that this was even more legit the farther you go back, where you're doing things, man. I don't know what it is now. Obviously, all we hear about the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts now is how they're just mired in scandal and abuse the gender bending, and you don't have to be a boy. You don't have to be a boy to be a Boy Scout. You don't have to be a girl.
I know. Frank, do you know that I still utilize skills that I learned as a scout to this day? Certain knots that I tie. Things out in the yard, things I share with my grandson, I mean, it's just, man, you really touched my heart with this one, man. I love your show. Well, there's got to be greater college than this, but
let me ask you one quick question with a quick answer. Do you think that what was reflected in that little the passage of the Boy Scout handbook, if that was something that was held on to, and if all of this self-flagellating, self-loathing culture or absence of culture didn't replace that at some point, where do you think, and like I said, I don't want to be too reductive because I know life comes at you, and a lot of things can drive a person down and make them depressed and struggle a little bit. But where do you think, by and large, we would be with our depression statistics, especially with the young people, if we had kept up this kind of a trajectory?
My man, even with the advent of the internet and all of that, scouting was something that actually appealed to younger kids. And if you hook them in the 6 to 10-year-old, median there, it sticks with them. And I think that even as they progressed and got older and had other distractions, video games, whatever, all the crap that's out there for kids today, I think it nestles in their heart. That little passage that you read, I think should be at the beginning of every history book. When a kid opens up his book, that should be right in the freaking front of it, because it's part of being a proud American. And scouting really does harken back to Native Americans. It really does them justice and honor. I think so many things would be cured if that was a part of young people's daily regimen. That would just be amazing.
Thanks for the call, Zoe. So great to hear from you.
Love you, man.
Take care. Love you too. Be well. Yeah. I mean, you think about that opening. It calls the reader, it calls the recipient of that handbook, not to just join something, because I was never a scout, but reading that, it's a reminder that everyone who calls this place home is a part of its history. It's very easy to look at things that happen, read about things that happened in the 18th century, and say, wow, well, that was just another world, another time, another planet. And if you look at that story as linear, here we are. And it's as much our game to control as it was their game to control. What are we doing? What are you prepared to do? And how are you able to function in that environment? So I think, you know, especially if you're a child in that situation growing up and reading that and being part of the Scouts and having that sort of, you know, there's a military aspect to it. There's a discipline aspect to it. It's identifiably, unmistakably American. I can see how that's just part of the vibe. But anyway, yeah. All right, let's take another call. 931, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Ruben from Tennessee.
Hey, Ruben, what's going on?
Oh, nothing much. I just wanted to be part of the conversation after our email.
Yes. Go ahead.
So, talking about children and their mental stability and whatnot, and then smoking is what I'm going to get into. I have a younger daughter. She was maybe 14 at the time, and I was going to counseling with her. And she kept saying, or my ex-wife kept telling me, your daughter's not happy coming over, and she doesn't want to come over, and it's really causing issues with her life.
Ruben, wait, Ruben, I want to hear every bit of this. Can you get a little bit closer to the receiver?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not on speakerphone, right?
No, sir.
Okay. I just want to get a little bit louder. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could.
Okay. So, thinking about it, and 4 days a month, I cannot be ruining my daughter's life. Like, I cannot be causing that much stress on her 4 days a month. So, come to find out, she was smoking. And when she'd come over, she wasn't able to smoke, which was causing her anxiety. And they put her on Lexapro because of her anxiety. You tracking with me?
Yeah. So she was smoking cigarettes at 14, and knowing that
18.
18.
Vaping.
At 18.
No, sir. Vaping. She was vaping.
Oh, vaping.
Yes.
Yeah, but still, that's you're talking about nicotine, right?
Correct. Yes, correct.
But was she smoking cigarettes prior to?
No, not that I ever knew.
So she just jumped into the vaping with, because I know some kid, if you're not, they have it without nicotine, so that's incredible. Well, anyway, she's vaping. She knows she doesn't want to do it around you. So in the time that she's spending with you, those 4 nights a month or whatever, she's suffering from like withdrawal. And for the withdrawal from the nicotine, they're giving her Lexapro.
Correct.
Jeez.
And luckily, when I was in my 20s, and I'm a fellow bald guy, Lexapro did me in. Within 2 years, I lost 80% of my hair, and I was able to get her to transition off of it because she as well was losing her hair. So,
but why would they go with Lexapro for this is purely nicotine addiction? Why not just tell her, hey, listen, chew this gum, or here's some tea tree oil, or something else? Why did they go to an antidepressant like that?
No, nobody knew about the nicotine. I chose to start drug testing her when she came over because I knew there had to be some other issue going on. So I started drug testing her, and nicotine testing her, and that's how we found out. But to cover up the smoking and the anxiety she was feeling, the counselor prescribed her Lexapro.
Okay. Just anxiety from not having the smoking around. It wasn't just like she was having the jitters. Wow.
Again, I wouldn't know on her end.
Still, it's just, yeah. Okay. Well, I can see that all coming together. But nobody was telling
that's
you,
my
huh?
story.
No, well, that you sounded great right there. What did you just do, Ruben? What did you just do that I just heard you so well for a second?
My headset died.
Oh, well, good. Next time before you call in, kill your headset first. Because that's
Fair enough.
Well, thank you for the call, man. Yeah, that definitely has a couple different aspects of what we're talking about tonight lumped into one. I hope all's well with you at home.
Yes, everything's been better since.
Okay.
Since we identified you.
Send my best to the family.
Thank you, sir.
Later. Take care. All right, let's take another one. Let's go to 985. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank.
Hey.
This is Southern Lady Tiger. I've called in before.
What's going on, Southern Lady Tiger? Go ahead.
Not a whole lot. I just wanted to call in and let you talk to you about the Boy Scouts.
Okay.
My father was a Boy Scout, an Eagle Scout. My husband's father was an Eagle Scout. My husband is an Eagle Scout, and both of my boys were Eagle Scouts.
Wow.
And my husband and the boys were all in the Order of the Arrow.
Oh, so they did the wilderness test, huh?
Yes. But my oldest went into the military, which was a lot of the kids his age that were in that scout troop ended up in the military. That was right before 9/11. And the youngest one didn't go into the military, but he's just such a strong member of society.
And you take that as an indispensable piece of what makes them who they are today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Their morals, their fiber, their physical and moral fiber. They Christian based. They well, of course we were very Christian based to begin with, but it was a good stepping stone for them for their careers, for whatever they needed to do. My husband was also an assistant scoutmaster, so he went with them. They went canoeing. They did all the camping.
Well, Lady Tiger, let me ask you this because we're running out of time. Let me ask you: Have you been able to talk to them? Well, maybe you'll be able to ask them now, since we've kind of roped all this together to talk about society at large and what's changed over the years. But obviously, there's been such a stark fall from grace for the Boy Scouts over the years. As I said before, scandals, money problems, the all the identity politics that has just really ruined a lot of things. There's very, very few pure, safe male spaces anywhere, especially for young kids left. I know that there are competing scouting, there are competing companies and organizations that try to step in and provide a scouting experience that the Boy Scouts used to provide. But have you ever talked to them about what they feel, what has happened, and how the experiences they had growing up is probably not as prevalent for everybody else that's in there, aside from just membership being down and out?
Actually, yes. My oldest son has had a boy he's 20 years old now, but he did not put him in scouting because he wasn't here. He wasn't in. We're from Louisiana, and hence the tiger, by the way. He was from Louisiana. He did all his scouting in Louisiana. He was stationed in North Carolina. So when he went to North Carolina, he got married and had children. When his oldest son grew up, he refused to put him in scouting because that's when all of the scandals started hitting, and he just didn't like the road that scouting was going at that point. And he was very disappointed because he really wanted to put him in scouting. Of course, he taught him a lot of the stuff that he learned through scouting outside of scouting. But, it's just not the same. It's not like having, the scouting experience.
No, I get you. I get you. And you know, it really makes, and thank you for the call. It was a really wonderful call to end tonight. Thank you, Lady Tiger, down there in Louisiana. Once again, the evil making its way into institutions, churches, anything that once served a holistic purpose for people and giving them any kind of a belonging and community connection and aspirations for the future, especially connection to family and nation, your culture. Once again, that's something we see time and time again, infiltration of once meaningful institutions. And then from there, what happens? Everybody just abandons it. Everybody goes off and fills their time with something else, and it's usually just keeps fracturing and splintering, and that's what we see. Well, I think we got enough on there. I would love to hear what people have on their minds, and I'll be checking out my my email, and we'll see what comes in over the next couple of hours. Let me check the Super Chats real quick. Over on Rumble, we've got a Rumble rant from Katie, Cat Sky D. Katie said, Nacho Libre puts a smile on my face and a chuckle in my belly every single time I watch it. Every line, every facial expression is the funniest thing ever. One of the greatest movies ever made. So if you went to Dr. Katie for a prescription, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be in her happy medicine chest. Jay Semo says, excellent show. Thank you. Well, thank you, Jay Semo. It's great to have you out there as always. Thank you for being a consistent Rumble ranter. And over on quitefrankly.tv, thank you, Delona, for shades and a phone. Let's see what else here. Tom Ford just got into a gold tier subscription, and he gifted another subscription, which was claimed by Dread Quarters. All the subscription gifting that's going on right now. Tom Ford is, so if there's like, I don't know how many extra people. There's a few extra people watching in the Sunday stream. You'll know why. Because Tom Ford is making members out of everybody. Over on QuiteFranklySuperChat.com, Hello Kitty SKS says, hi Frank, Dwayne was a boy Eagle Scout. However, the organization has been corrupted. No vetting, background checks of the leaders, so bad. By the way, to anyone who messages and follows me on Instagram and Facebook, I am in timeout until October 19th. She's been very bad. That kitty. Bad kitty. Okay. Well, you American boy and girl, I hope that this hit somewhere that made you think. And since we're in a little bit of a place where we're talking about pride and all that stuff and reminiscing, 25 years ago tonight, I've been wearing my Yankees 1998 World Series patch, actually. 25 years ago tonight was Game 1 of the 1998 World Series between the Yankees and the Padres, 25 years. Anyway, since we've been talking a little bit about pride and identity tonight, I thought this would be a nice touch. And with that, we're going to be ending. I'll see you tomorrow night for a full 2 hours. It's going to be a great one. Going to be a great one. In the meantime, enjoy.
We direct your attention to the microphone behind home plate. And here to honor America, please welcome New York's own Mr. Tony Bennett.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above thy fruited plain. America, America. thy good, with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience, and now our super chatters, starting with Hello Kitty, SKS, Windy Wah, Jay Semo, Books and Coffee, who's now just become a monthly supporter on Rumble. How very nice of you. Thank you, Jay Semo, Books and Coffee, which is a wonderful name, by the way. Kate Sky D. Thank you, guys and gals, and to all of our wonderful friends on quitefrankly.tv, powered by Foxhole, who are giving each other subscriptions like it's nobody's business. Thank you, Tom Ford, and all the rest. I'm releasing the scratching right now. We will see you tomorrow night, same place, same time. Goodbye.